So, which Wednesday Night War show was better? AEW Dynamite, NXT. So, we'll talk about that as well. But also, we're going to talk about the recent development that just came around on the AEW Unrestricted podcast, where Amanda Hubbard, who is the widow of the late Brodie Lee, or better known as John Hubbard, she explains the timeline that led to what really happened to Brodie Lee. So, all of that will be reviewed on this episode of Deleted WrestleZone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted WrestleZone, all things that is pro wrestling from AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So as you know, we like to do more about the Wednesday Night War. Mentioned a while ago, this could be coming to an end soon, hopefully, but until that day happens, we're going to keep on doing this. Now, as you know, the reviews and ratings that I actually threw on this, apparently AEW had dipped in their viewerships, but however, their 18 to 49 demographic is still going strong. So here's what AEW received on the viewerships. They had 734,000 views compared from the previous week, which was 854,000 views. But the rate for the 18 to 49 demographic was a 0.29. NXT, on the other hand, they did a little better, which they received this week 720,000 views compared from last week, which was 659,000 views. As for the 18 to 49 demographic, it's a 0.21. Now, it appears that many people can say the ads are catching up. It's true, but right now it's still going on, even though there's been a lot of discussions reviewing about the whole thing with this. But I did mention there is a chance that there's talk that the network may want to move NXT out. So I don't remember. I hope we'll talk about that at some other time. But right now, it's all about what really went on with both AEW Dynamite and NXT. So let's do that right now. All right, so let's talk about AEW Dynamite. The first match was the long awaited match that we've been expecting, Eddie Kingston versus Lance Archer. Now, this story dates back all the way from last year to All Out in the Casino Battle Royale, where, of course, what's his name? Eddie Kingston claimed that he was never eliminated, but even though from a perspective he was, and this whole feud between. So basically, the entire time, Eddie has been ducking Lance Archer. But however, the match seemed like it could have gone in Lance Archer way. But however, Eddie Kingston always has a plan. So what he did, he had the Butcher and the Blade attack Jake the Snake Roberts and laid him on the ground, allowing for him to do a back fist maneuver and knocking him out, allowing him to win the match. But however, still more of the beatdown on Lance Archer. Now, could this be the end of their feud? Well, I could say it's not, because Lance Archer will not be satisfied. Now, as you know, the recent development with Jon Moxley. Moxley knows the following week he will be teaming with Pac and Rey Fenix. Now, he has a tendency not to trust either one, but anything could happen. So he knows he's teaming up with these guys against Kenny and the Good Brothers. So he just got to wait and see what's going to happen. Now, We all know what's going to happen in Revolution. The long awaited discussion about the icon Sting. Is he going to wrestle? Well, looks like he did. So Sting and Darby Allin addressed about their upcoming match in Revolution, the street fight. He says that he took offense of what Taz was saying, like all this stuff, and called him and Darby hoodlum. But he's like, wait a minute, he's a hoodlum, And then of course Darby went crazy with the skateboard, telling that he is a hoodlum, but not in the same way as Sting. So basically, they just addressed. So the real question is, are they ready for this match coming up? Now, next match, this is between the Varsity Blondes, MJF and Chris Jericho. Now, we all know what happened the previous week, where MJF picked up the victory to win the match to be the tag team in the Inner Circle to go for the AEW World Tag Team titles. Now, the match seems like it was pretty good. I felt they could have done better with a different team, but this will just have to do. But however, it did show like Chris Jericho and MJF are a stronger unison unit as a team. So we will see how this goes. But however, did MJF and um, Jericho win, but Warlow was not there. I'll explain to that why. Now, Pac set out a message to Kenny and the Good Brothers about the malicious attack on Penta. So he knows what's coming. He and Phoenix are ready for war. So he knows it. So we got to see what's going to happen between Pac, Phoenix, and Moxley when they teamed up. Now, for a while, ever since Cody defeated Brodie Lee, he called himself Giant Killer, and Jade Cargill, this mysterious woman, took offense to Cody, saying that he could not be a true giant, and the true giant she's referring to is Shaquille O'Neal. So he called him out, saying that he will face him on in March, which is, ironically, the next pay-per-view, Revolution. So they were going to have a mixed tag team match, but however, everybody knows that Brandy's pregnant, she's expecting. But Cody did allow for Arn to speak his mind because he did say he got chewed up after what happened the previous week. And Arn reminded him about something about his dad. But at the same time, he told him that there's a fire that he needs to pay attention. And that fire was Red Velvet. If you guys haven't forgotten, Red Velvet has been viciously attacked by Jade for months, ever since she first appeared. And now, she seems like she wants to stir up more of the pot to get even. Even Cody was surprised the way she talked. So basically, we may see Cody and Red Velvet taking on Jade and Shaquille O'Neal. So we're going to wait and see what Jade and Shaq would say. Now, this next match was a very interesting one. We have Ryan Nemeth. If you guys don't know who he is the younger brother of current WWE superstar Dolph Ziggler. His real name is Nick. So he faces off Hangman Page. Now, I wasn't too fond in the match in a little bit, but however, something happened in the match. Here comes Matt Hardy. Nobody knows why. And then you see he's rooting for Hangman, but the real question is, why? Now, don't get me wrong. Hangman did win the match, if you guys, that's what you want to hear. But however, what happened, he explains why he was there. He feels sorry for Hangman after what happened with him in the Elite. He's even extending him an olive branch to give him better accommodations. Now, the real key of the game is this. Is this more mind games by Matt Hardy? Or is he being genuine? I'll leave that up to you guys on that. So if you guys believe that Hangman really is, Matt Hardy is really playing these mind games or he's genuine, leave a comment down below. Now, the next match is a very interesting match. We have FTR member, uh, Dax Harwood, taking on Jungle Boy, while Tully Blanchard and Cash Wheeler are handcuffed to Luchasaurus. This match was unbelievably good. I was so impressed with this one. However, the funny part is you have Luchasaurus holding on to the other two like this, like. Argh. So it's so interesting how Luchasaurus was holding back the other two guys, knowing that they could cheat their way through, but it didn't help them to help Dax, who apparently lost to Jungle Boy. I have to say, this is one of the best single competitive matches that Jungle Boy has done. But however, it wasn't over until Tully decided to attack both of them. He powdered Luchasaurus and then attacked Jungle Boy. Then they kind of crucified him and cut Luchasaurus' horns off. And then here comes Marco Stunt, who was in the back bringing reinforcements. He brought Top Flight and SCU to help out. So this feud is far from over. Hold on. Now, Team Taz responded to what Sting and Darby Allin said, but however, once again, with their little tantrum, tried to say that being disrespected, they run into a vendor ship outside with no Team Taz merch. So they took offense, beat up the guys, destroyed the merch and all that. So they still feel being disrespected. Next match we have is Dr. Britt Baker along with her sidekick Reba taking on Shanna. Now this match was a very interesting way because Shanna, we haven't seen her for months, but now she is back. She's been wrestling mostly out of in AEW Dark, but this was her first Dynamite match ever. So the match was good, but however, you cannot forget Reba, who is still causing interference. But it did allow Britt Baker to win the match with her submission move. But however, she tried to punish her more to send a message saying that she's a role model. But out of nowhere, here comes La Meta Meta to even the score. Now, I did tell Thunder Rosa, the Shana, she should back up Rosa at Beach Break because we all know Reba's going to be there. She's going to do everything to ensure that the role model wins. So if I was Shayna, be by her side. Now, as you know, for weeks there is mounted tensions between certain members of the inner circle. Sammy is one of them who doesn't trust MJF, not because he weaseled in. He believes that he is a master manipulator. MJF assured him after what happened last week with the inner circle tag team challenge, he didn't tell Wardlow to interfere. But Sammy doesn't seem too compelled to believe him. And I don't blame him, but it is what it is. So, but he did state it a while back that if things don't go exactly the way he sees it, then he's out. This could be the beginning of that. Now, still more unanswered questions was happening. The Bucks actually questioned the Good Brothers about their malicious attack against Penta, and they said Don Callis told them to do that, but the Bucks don't trust him after he's been stirring more of the pot recently, trying to drive a wedge between both Kenny and the Bucks. However, here comes Kenny questioning the Bucks about what happened to Don Callis, and Don Callis, once again being a weasel, covered his face with tape. So this is leading to a dissension between both Kenny and the Bucks. But however, they have a match to be in, so both the Good Brothers and the Bucks set up in the match against the Dark Order, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, Stu Grayson, and Evil Uno of the Dark Order. This was a good match too. I did like it. It did show like, okay, fans were cheering for the Dark Order. So they become like, I don't know if their true intentions are going to become the heel, the faces now. I'm not sure, but it seems like it's working. But however, the match ended with the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers winning the match. But however, Matt Jackson did address their part of the tag team elimination match, over the top elimination match in Beach Break. If they win, they get to pick their opponents. However, Phoenix showed up to crash the party. And then later, the Good Brothers tried to take him out, but however, they were taken out by Jon Moxley. Kenny tries to take him out, but however, he got paradigm shift. So we're getting ready to set what's going to happen on Beach Break this coming Wednesday. So hope you guys are ready. I'm ready. So let's end it right here and move on with NXT. All right, NXT. As you all know, we're still continuing on with the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic and the first ever women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. So there's a lot of interesting feuds and storylines coming up. So let's go from start to finish. The first match is in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. We have Killian Dane, Jake Maverick versus the newcomers MSK. Now, as you know, MSK is, I always said, they are the wild card in this tournament. Reason I say that is, you don't rarely see up and comers win the tournament. But however, you may never know how things are going to turn out. But once again in this match, Drake's enthusiasm cost him the match. Dane, if I were you, punch him to get him straight. Trust me, that helps. Now, in this particular episode, Kurt Stallion is ready to set to face Santos Escobar, who's been ducking him for weeks. He will not challenge him, have him face him for the Cruiserweight title due to the fact he believes he is untouchable. No one can beat him. But however, at some point during the event, he was attacked and he pointed out the finger to Legado del Fantasma. Now, they claim they had nothing to do with it, but Regal not buying it. But he did state it. Another attack happens on Kurt Stallion next week, then there'll be some dire consequences. Now, my assumption, one of these consequences, if somehow Mendoza or Wild, they could lose their position in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, that would be a bummer. Santos Escobar could be stripped from the title. It could go either way. But however, he got spooked when he saw like one of those card telling things and he's like saying the end is near. I don't know if what's his name? Karen Cross is targeting him or someone who is closer to him. We may never know. But we'll see when that happens. Now the next match is still the first round of the women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. First team we got Aaliyah and Jessie Kamea taking on Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. This match was very interesting because seeing Jessie Kamea, she kind of showed a different type of attitude in this match. I was like very impressed, but however, it wasn't good enough. It did allow to Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez to advance, but however, their next opponent is the most shocking team that ever came out. I'm talking about KZ Catanzaro and Kaden Carter. So we'll see what happens in the next match for that. Now, we see the interview with the Way. We know Candice and Indy Hartwell are in the tournament, excited that they believe they could win. But however, Gargano still has his little issues with Kushida. Now, as soon as he is done with Austin bringing this stuff up that he doesn't want to hear, out of the blue, here comes Dexter Loomis. We're like, what the hell he came from? So yeah, looks like he still has some unfinished business. Now the next match, this is more of a interesting. We have Tyler Russ, who has been very impressive as a submission specialist, but I feel like this match gave him an unknown. He could have had a much better challenger. I don't know who, but it did give him like the recognition that he needs. He did win the match. Very impressive, like always. Next match, we have the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic of the quarterfinals. We have Leon Ruff and Kushida taking on the Grizzled Young Veterans. Good match, in my opinion. It was one of the good ones, but however, it was still not enough because Grizzled Young Veterans is one of those teams that are determined to win it all the way. Last year, they were this close, but they didn't. But however, once the match was over, they were attacked. Ruff and Kushida were attacked by Gargano and Theory. But however, Theory was spooked out by Dexter Loomis. Now, Gargano thinks that, oh, he's not going to do anything. Uh, don't count yourself that because once Lex Loomis has something on his sight, he will never stop. Look what happened to Cameron Grimes. Now, let's see. I think we're almost there. Yes. Now, speaking of the women's division, as you know, Io Shirai does have a big target in her back. Apparently, she has been targeted by two different women in the women's division. Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez. Toni Storm hasn't forgotten what she did. She did beat Rhea Ripley for the title, for the NXT UK title back in the UK, and she is trying to make a statement, believing that Io took her opportunity to be the first ever women to win the Dusty Road Tag Team Classic for the women's division, and now she's out to destroy Io Shirai. But however, the real question is, who will be the one person that will dethrone Io Shirai? We do have two dominant women, Toni Storm and Mercedes Ashley. This is going to be a tough one. Now, however, there is no way these two would fight each other for the number one contendership unless they cheat out or unless Io Shirai says, in my opinion, she'll take on both, which will be simpler. But we'll see what happens. Now, as you know, Isaiah Swerve Scott has a tendency to right a wrong of matches. As you know, ever since his attitude with Jake Atlas, he lost to Jake. He beat him in the bad fashion. And now he lost again. Then he lost to Bronson Reed. And now he thinks he can do the same thing again with Bronson Reed. This match, he basically thought he had him under control, but it didn't. It ended badly. So he can't believe he lost twice. He thought he was going to beat him this time to right a wrong that he believes he needs to rectify his first loss to Bronson Reed. But this time, he's already 0-2 with him. So now the next match, the main event, we got Kyle O'Reilly and Finn Balor taking on the NXT Tag Team Champions Danny Burch and Orny Lorcan. The match was pretty good. However, the interesting question was, can Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly coexist, even though they have a common enemy? There are certain moments where like they try to outdo each other, which that's what Kyle O'Reilly did when he picked up the victory. But however, as you know, Finn Balor has a target on his back, and that person, the man who targeted him, is Pete Dunne, who believes he should be in line for the NXT Championship. So, we don't know when that match will happen, but I can't wait to see it. But it ended with the Undisputed Era coming out to help out. But as you know, Finn Balor did stood with the Undisputed Era, then he backed off. So it ended where, okay, so we got this out of the way. But what's next? All we got to do is wait next week. As you know, Adam Cole and Roderick Strong will face Thatcher and Ciampa. Now, it wouldn't surprise me in that match if Lorcan and Birch interfere. Why? Because they don't want no piece of them, because they believe their history, it's time for them to be gone and skedaddle. But we'll see what happens. So right now, let's end it with let's just move on with my final thoughts on this particular show. Okay, my final thoughts. What did I thought about both shows? Now, I am a fan of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics, now with the women as well. But AEW, well, to me, they're right now I'm a bit biased with everything. I mean, I wasn't mainly fond with the idea how the Eddie Kingston and Lance Archer match went, or many things. Well, I feel like there were certain things right, like the story with Matt Hardy trying to extend an invitation to Hangman and all this. I did like that. The main event, and I think there's a few, but yeah, I feel right now, to me, in my opinion, those two shows were evenly matched. Now, the views and ratings shows that they're neck and neck, kind of close enough, in from what I can see. But hopefully, the following week will be a different story. So, I'm sorry that I'm rushing this because I'm still a little sick, but I'm trying to hang in there. But that's how I feel. So, right now, it's undecided. There is no conclusion for me on this part. But that doesn't mean I'm going to end it right here. So I'm going to end it with hearing the podcast interview on the AEW Unrestricted of Amanda Hubbard, the widow of of John Hubbard, better known as Brodie Lee, formerly known as Luke Harper. So let's review and talk about that right now. All right. As you know, the passing of John Hubbard, better known as Brodie Lee, formerly known as Luke Harper, his passing was the most shocking thing that happened in the wrestling world. As you know, there has been many people that were speculating things, kind of like spreading dirt sheet, as Amanda Hubbard was talking in this interview. As you know, people were saying that the injuries that that Brodie Lee obtained during that dog collar match could have played a part of that. So there's been many speculations over that, but however, that wasn't the case. This podcast interview by Amanda kind of is telling people to shut the hell up. Stop believing what you think you know it's true. So she explains in a timeline what really happened. Now let's start from that. According to her, after the interview that Brodie did with the Unrestricted, he was having problems breathing. Now, you can say this by telling me, "Oh, J Rod, it's COVID." You may be right. You may be right. But however, Amanda did put out the thermometer, nothing. So they tried again at some other point. Still the same thing. He couldn't breathe. So they assumed the same thing because it was COVID. So the more and the more they were thinking, they can't find anything. His tests came out negative, and that's when things started to change. Apparently, He had to be airlifted from Tampa to a hospital from two different directions, one in Jacksonville, and I forgot what was the other one. Now, they didn't know what it was about. Apparently, he was having problems with his lungs. The more and more. Now, that was one of the things that was happening. Now, when I say lungs, you assume, oh, it's the COVID, because as you know, people were having a hard time breathing. It's one of the cases that leads to COVID-19. It didn't happen that way. It turned out that he had a viral infection in his lungs that scarred him. I'm like, okay, we didn't expect that. But you probably say to yourself, why we weren't told about this? Well, the reason is some of the legal team of AEW approached this to Amanda, asking her if there's anything she needs from them. All she requested is one thing: is they have to keep their mouth shut about it. She told the roster about it. They're all well aware of what happened to Brodie, that he was having problems breathing. So they all kept their mouth shut out of respect for her. The reason she did that is because she didn't want dirt sheets spreading around, like assuming what that it is. And to be honest with you, I feel like she did the right thing. Not because for her, it's for him. Because he's not trying to be wanting spreadsheet thrown around. But of course, people were still assuming what was going on. They all thought he was going to pull through because that's something that people will assume. And of course, don't forget his 9-year-old boy, who was 8 at the time, Brodie. All he ever wanted was his dad to go back. But frankly, things were getting worse and worse. They even tried a transplant, but so far there was no chance it would have worked or something. Even JR criticized the doctors who rejected the idea. I'm like, okay, why didn't give him lung transplant? It would have been a very viable way to him to survive. It made no sense. But she was grateful that AEW did the right thing, keep their mouth shut and all that. And of course, it was a difficult time. I mean, for someone like Amanda to go from this time, from this to the time he died, took a very toll on her. And I understand that because she had to live through this. And not only that, her son, Brodie, was affected by it. He wasn't, from what she's saying, he wasn't doing so good. And I don't blame the kid. I mean, it's hard to explain to an 8-year-old boy that your father is dying. It's not easy. But, of course, they had to tell him. But luckily for them, they are sticking by him every step of the way to cheer him up, try to get his spirit going. That's what they want to do. But she feels that the funeral was the AEW show they did, his tribute show. That was his funeral. And she praised Tony Khan for doing this and praised everybody for helping her out. And of course, she didn't trust AEW because of the corporation thing, but she appreciates they're looking out for her. Now, you kind of ask yourself, why WWE doesn't do that? Easy. It's all about the money for them. AEW is the opposite. It's all about being a family. But if you guys ever get a chance to hear this, you get to hear what Amanda had to say. It's very stressful. It's very sad how she had to go through this and the conflicting. But for you people out there, for those who think the injuries were obtained, shame on you guys. You know, at first I didn't want to believe that. Me, I thought maybe it was the COVID. Who knows? But thank God that Amanda set the record straight. This interview wasn't trying to gain attention. People were speculating a lot of things about Brodie's passing. For the love of God, stop speculating things. If you guys want to hear Amanda Hubbard, go to AEW Unrestricted. If you have Spotify, you can hear it. If you have Google Podcasts, you can hear it, or wherever it's being spread. Or you can wait until the start of the week. Will they throw in the video where they talk to her? But we'll see what happens, all right? You'll see. So you get the idea of what Amanda was talking about. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode, and I'll see you guys next time. So I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye, and have a nice day.